Oh, okay.
You want it off?
Well, I just want the sound to
We'll leave it on
match
when
from
you do
room
it.
to room.
I'll
Yeah,
leave it on for
okay.
you. And every room's got a fan.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, let it go, Fran. 3, 2, 1, action.
Well, Brian, here we are talking again. We first met during Splash, which turned out to be a phenomenal success for you. And maybe no surprise to you. I don't know. Or were you surprised by its overwhelming success?
Well, I must have, Ron and I were I was surprised. I was surprised at the size of the success. I did think it would work, though. I thought the movie would work. I thought people would see it because I thought it was a very positive, spirited movie. And I think that people seek out inspirational things or positive things. And at the center of the movie there was love, which is a feeling that people want to experience and that feels good. And so I always felt that there was that appeal anyway to it.
Of course, Ron directed Night Shift, which you
Right.
produced, and then he directed Splash, which you produced. And now you have a woman director, Martha
Right.
Coolidge. Now, are you the one who hired Martha?
Yes, yes.
And did you have any reservations at all about her? Because she hadn't done that much. She did Valley Girls, but...
Right. Well, I did. To be honest, I didn't have any. I didn't have any reservation. The fact that she's a woman or any of those things, just anything based on all those things, I didn't really have any reservation. I did believe in her because she had made movies not unlike Ron that were low budget pictures and where she started at the bottom and worked her way all the way up, and so she'd had a lot varied experiences, which was real helpful. She's also categorically, in terms of values, very similar to Ron, so that was very appealing to me. You know, she's not a real egotistical person. She's more interested in the work and in doing the job and getting it done right, and so that was also very exciting to me. So I was eager to work with her, actually.
You're a very aggressive and hyper in a good way in that you have just tons of energy. Don't you?
Yeah, I have a lot. I have a lot of energy.
Okay.
I have so much energy. Yeah.
Do you kind of look then for a director who is more placid because Ron is, and I guess that Martha is too. Do you look for more low-key directors?
Well, to be honest here for a second, Ron actually and Martha, they have an enormous amount, because I was thinking about that actually the other day. Seriously, they actually have a lot of energy. Martha and Ron have an enormous amount of energy, but they manifest it differently than I do. They do it over a long, like they'd be long distance runners. Whereas I'm like a sprinter. I sprint out and do 100 yards and I come back to the starting block and do another 100 yards. So we actually all have a lot of energy. I don't know whether I have more or less, but it's just a way we kind of manifest it. Ron actually, Ron and Martha have an unbelievable amount of energy, staying power, an incredible amount.
You have, I guess, just completed a picture that John Landis directed, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, John, though, is a little more hyper than they.
He's pretty hyper. His personality would much more parallel with mine than Ron's in terms of how we manifest ourselves. He's real speedy like me and, zooms around and talks a lot and has a lot of energy and, hey, come on over here and that kind of stuff. Yeah, he's pretty charged up too. His personality, we're much more alike, yeah.
Brian, how do you think all this Twilight Zone trial is going to turn out for John?
To tell you the truth, I don't really know much about it at all. I only know what I've read about it, so I just don't know. Really the only thing that concerned me was his ability, and he's an enormously talented man. So I don't really know about the trial. In terms of how it'll turn out or really many of the details. I just haven't followed it, actually. It sounds a little naive, but I haven't.
He doesn't talk about it?
He never really talks about it at all, no. He never says, it's not something he really talks about. When we talk, it's actually just about the work, about the job, how Aykroyd's doing, how Chevy Chase is doing. It's more spy talk, comedy talk.
Does he seem now to be more cautious? Does he seem to be more concerned about everything that everybody's doing so that nobody gets hurt or anything happens?
Well, I don't really know because I did not know him during that time. I've only just met him at the time that we started Spies Like Us. I just knew him then. We hired him then, but I never had any previous work experience, nor did I ever meet him. So I can't really compare whether he's more cautious or less cautious. I don't know.
Getting back to Real Genius, you have a couple of young performers in this, Val Kilmer and Gabe. I wonder if you have the feeling that they will emerge the way that Michael Keaton did, the way that Tom Hanks did.
I feel very certain. I can actually, I mean, as far as my instincts go, and I think I've been pretty good with those. I feel very certain that Val Kilmer will absolutely take off the way you're talking about, the way John Candy, Tom Hanks, Daryl, Michael Keaton. And it's already starting to happen, actually. People that have seen Real Genius, because we've tested it. In fact, it tested really well. In fact, it tested better than Splash, which is crazy, is something. People have loved Val Kilmer. They thought he was fantastic. And so they're already trying to hire him and pay him a lot of money, and it's kind of all starting the same kind of thing.
Did you option him for a second picture?
No, I didn't. I didn't do it with any of those guys. I always wish I would, but I don't. I don't know why. I just somehow didn't. But I'm sure I'll make another movie with him. In fact, he's just sent me a script, I was told.
Well, you seem to have such a good instinct for finding new young people and launching them. Maybe that's what you ought to continue to do.
Yeah, well, I like doing that. It's exciting to do that. It's to take somebody that has never done a film, maybe he's done very little TV, and you say, I believe in you. And based on readings, based on talking, based on instinct, and all of a sudden have them emerge the way Michael Keaton did or Tom Hanks. It's extremely exciting to have that happen, to create stars.
Well, Brian, it's good to see you again, and I hope you have a lot of luck with Real Genius. It's a fun picture, and I think it ought to have pretty broad appeal, actually.
Good. Well, I'm glad that you liked it.
Yeah, good to see you.
God, thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
There we go. 3, 2, 1.
Brian, were you surprised that Splash did as well as it did? Do you think you tend to hire directors who are less hyper than you because you're a real hard charger and Ron is kind of low key and Martha's kind of lower key? Now, what about John Landis? Because he too is a pretty hyper person, isn't he? How do you think this trial is going to turn out for John Landis? Did he not talk about it ever? Do you think that he tends now to be more cautious on the set? Let's see. Are you the one who hired Martha Coolidge? Did you have any particular reservations about hiring a woman director? What are your feelings about the young actors in Real Genius as far as you launched Michael Keaton and Tom Hanks? What about these young actors? Okay. Now I think just a reaction. Okay.
Good show.